Oh, there we go. All right. Um, Kind of caught me off guard here. All right. So we are live, and I was getting my audio tuned in here. And it is Sunday, March 3rd, 2024. This is the DPF Guys Q&A. And so welcome. Thank you for joining us. We are DPF Guys located in Atlanta, Georgia. We focus 100% on diesel after-treatment services for anything with a diesel engine and an emission system. Most of our customers are truck drivers and fleets, but we also service after treatment for off-road vehicles, off-road equipment, diesel passenger vehicles, and stationary equipment with DPF systems like generators, pumps, rock crushers, and more. So we like to say if it has a DPF, we can clean it. Disclaimer: you should always talk to your mechanic about any concerns you have with your engine or truck, and any pricing discussed here may or may not apply to you and should only be used as a guideline and is not any form of official quote for any services by DPF Guys or anybody else for that matter. So let's get busy here. Question number one is, hold on a second here. I want to make this bigger so I can see what I'm looking at here. That's much better. Okay. Number one from John Holland 145. He had actually sent a message in. His truck is a 2015. How much for a one box? And then when I have to get the MCN programmed, did they update the program for the 2015? So and I've talked about this a number of times. The apparently the late model 2014 Freightliner Cascadia with the Detroit engine in one box, all of 2015, and then the earlier 2016s, I believe, is what I'm seeing, had an issue with MCM or ECM programming where the fuel mapping was incorrect, and I think we might be seeing something similar with the latest Gen 5, the 2022s and 2023s, 2024s, but don't quote me on that. Anyway, the 2015s definitely had an issue with fuel mapping. It was causing the engine to overfuel and overheat the one box, damaging the SCR. Detroit eventually issued a patch for that, but almost all of the damage had already been done, and many of those trucks required a new one box. The symptom that you're looking for, if you happen to have the 2015 vintage truck, again, that's going to be 14, 15, 16-ish, is that you will have a truck that will actually run pretty well. If it's lightly loaded on a flat road, empty on a flat road, bobtail, runs great. But the minute you got, 20, 30, 40,000 pounds on the box and you're heading up a grade, all of a sudden you get DEF quality codes. All of a sudden you get SCR efficiency codes. All of a sudden you get NOx conversion codes. And the codes themselves can be a bit confusing because you get DEF quality. So what does someone do? They buy a new DEF header for $1,300. They drain their DEF, put new DEF in, get a new DEF pump, all this stuff. And it's just kind of a misleading code. Again, 2015, 14, 15, 16, and that runs well if it's not laboring. But the minute the thing's working hard, you start to throw DEF quality code, you're almost certain to have a one box that's simply bad and needs to get replaced. That being said, a replacement one box for a 2015 brand new one box with 3-year warranty is going to cost you about $8,000, 7,900, somewhere in there. And that does include not just the one box; it also includes brand new filters, clamps, gaskets, the whole shebang. And it does have a 3-year warranty with unlimited mileage. But keep in mind that upstream issues with injectors, turbo, or anything engine related that damages the one box is not covered by the warranty. So make sure that you thoroughly troubleshoot all upstream issues before replacing your one box, no matter who you get it from. We do get asked all the time if we sell refurbished one boxes for the 2014 to 16 trucks, and we used to, but the failure rate was almost 100%. It was like literally 9 out of 10 boxes we sold came back and had to be replaced with with a new one. So we stopped selling refurbished one boxes completely and only sell the brand new aftermarket ones. The new one box does not come, it does come with filters, as I said, does not come with sensors. So you'll move whatever sensors you can from the old to the new one box. Oftentimes, people will have replaced their inlet and outlet NOx sensors already and things like that. So you can move those over. And anything that, comes out okay, the temperature sensors, etc. If you want to use the old ones, please feel free. There's probably a couple that will just twist off. You have to replace. And we do recommend replacing the wiring harness of the one box, simply because they do have a tendency to get a bit crusty. And the process of taking them off of the old one box and moving them to the new one will often break the insulation and cause shorts and electrical issues. So replace as many sensors as you have to, move as many over as you can, replace the harness, and you're good to go. And the mechanic, again, this is separate from us. We just provide the one box. We don't actually work on the truck. In our area, the mechanic will usually charge between 800 and 900 bucks to swap the old one box for new. But if you need more work done, like putting an EGR cooler back in or something else, there may be more costs involved. Obviously, you'd want to get that quoted. But we can help you definitely reverse a delete if you do happen to have a deleted truck. But we also do a lot of Freightliners, both just replacing failed one boxes or replacing deleted one boxes. So text or call us at the number. And here it is, 404 999. The lights are too bright. 404 999 1361. Text or call and let us know how we can help you out. All right. Question number 2. Thank you, Harley Slim. Harley Slim, yes. This is okay. Did the DOC fail, causing the DPF fail as a result? So first, let me show you the video that Harley Slim is talking about. Hang on a second. I'm going to show you a bit of the video right from TikTok. And of course, if you're not following us on TikTok, watching this on YouTube, definitely jump over to TikTok. We're going to be doing a in-depth behind-the-scenes TikTok live after this is done, which won't be too long. And we'll get into all of your questions and answer as many as I can until I get tired or hungry. All right, so let me show you the video that he is asking about. Check this out.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Are you ready for this? Oh shit! When I come to the club, step aside. Oh shit! Pop the seats, don't be heavy in the line. Oh shit! VIP, 'cause you know I gotta shine. Oh shit! Fergie Ferg, give me love, you know time. Oh shit! Oh my girl.
Okay, so that was an actual DPF off of an actual truck. It was a yard dog, a spotter, whatever you want to call those things, and had a Cummins 6.7 engine. Now, the spotters themselves are pretty hard on the DPF because they often don't get hot enough to properly regen. They're kind of putting around a parking lot all day. So that causes issues. The fact that it has a 6.7 engine, the Cummins 6.7 is a solid engine, but the injectors do have a tendency to get sticky or just leak. And whenever you're putting too much fuel into a cylinder, you're going to have it burn incompletely, which means it's going to produce a ton of soot. And also, the unburned fuel can cause excessive heat downstream and crack the DPFs. So we got the DPF completely cleaned out and it's flowing great. And now the company is working on fixing the obvious engine issue. Remember, if you delete your truck to fix an engine problem, you are treating the symptom and not the problem. I hear a lot of people say, oh, I had DPF issues, so I just deleted that shit. Well, what caused the DPF issue is almost guaranteed to be something up in the engine. So be careful because you do delete and you're basically just masking the real problem and you might end up needing a new engine before you know it. Okay, that was number 2. Question number 3. And this is by Brahmin 77510. Can you tell us why they can't be washed out with the pressure washer and soap water? Now, he's again talking about the video we just saw a second ago. First off, a pressure washer will always damage a DPF. And I don't care what you say. People go, oh, I use it all the time and it's fine. Sometimes you can't see the damage on the surface, but I have never seen a pressure wash DPF that was not breached or damaged inside. Now, the damage to the DPF may not be noticeable right away, but you will not pass emissions if your state does emissions on diesel vehicles. And again, it's not even that you're trying to do anything nefarious or sneaky. It's just that you use the pressure washer to clean your DPF. It broke it inside. It's letting the emissions through, and you'll fail your emissions test. If you don't do emissions, and not many states do, I think only kind of about 40 states do emissions right now, but there's still, or I mean, what is it? No, I mean, I think there's 10 states that do emissions, leaving 40 that don't. I forget. I knew what that was at one point. I forget. But if your state doesn't do emissions, you won't be caught that way. But what will happen is because your DPF is not DPFing, it's not filtering the particles, that soot will go straight through. And if you've got a truck that's new enough to have an SCR, and most trucks are, an SCR, of course, is the selective catalytic reducer. That's what works with your DEF fluid. Um, it will end up, the SCR will end up getting filled with soot. And this is called poisoning. And the SCR will fail. Sometimes it'll fail fast, sometimes it'll fail slow. Now, we can clean and restore a poisoned SCR, but the damage caused by the power washer will mean that you need to pay to replace or clean your SCR, depending upon if they clean them where you are. But you'll also have to pay to buy a brand new DPF to ensure that the issue does not happen again. So, uh, and also, soap or other chemicals don't help either because most of what's in the DPF is ash, which is not touched by the soap. And the soap will also remain in the DPF and act as a sticky trap for more soot and ash, causing the filter to clog up much faster once it's back in the truck. There is, or at least was, a company in Atlanta that used soap and chemicals to clean their DPFs. Oh, sorry. My pizza's done. And they used to, so there is or was a company in Atlanta that used soap and chemicals to clean the DPFs. And every time I get a call from a company with an extremely plugged DPF, it's always because they had the other company clean it with soap, and the cleaning only lasted a few months before the vehicle was absolutely derated again. So, one of the parts of our process is we do use an aqueous, a water-based cleaning process, but no chemicals at all. We don't want to leave anything behind in there other than a clean DPF. But when we do find a DPF that's been cleaned with chemicals, cleaned with soap, soap-related chemicals, surfactants, and we process those filters, you'll actually see foam coming out of the DPF, and the soot is caked hard and a lot harder to get out. So the best process is compressed air and vacuum, followed by high volume, low pressure water, and then drying, and then an overnight regen where you slowly ramp it up to regen temperature, which is 1112 degrees Fahrenheit. Hold it there for, man, 6 or 8 hours, really get all that stuff baked out of it, then ramp it back down. And once it's cool the next day, we go back into the vacuum and air blast again. And the goal is to end up with a filter that is like new. So if you need any help or guidance with your DPF cleaning, give us a text or a call, 404 999 1361. And again, that is 404 999 1361. All right, number 5. Number 5. Oh, where did number 4 go? Shoot. Yeah. Well, now I'm mixed up. I must not have put number 4 in there. Hold on a second. Let me hide this one. Number 4 is from Nick Kaminsky. And again, he's asking about that super dirty DPF that we showed just a couple of questions ago. And he said, how did that even run? Nick says he had a Mac plug up so bad the operator ran it till it quit and it wouldn't light again till I took the DPF off. And this is exactly what this customer experienced. And it actually did not run. This truck was just DOA dead. And the only way they could even get it to crank over is to disconnect the inlet to the DOC, just to get the engine to turn over so they could diagnose it. And yeah, when something is as bad as that, and let me quick show you that video again so you know that what I'm talking about. Here we go.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Are you ready for this? Oh shit! When I come to the club.
Yeah, so that's no joke. And that soot is almost like rubber. Nothing flows through that until you get it out. All right, now we go to question number 5. And this is from Clay Turpinning. Asked a really good question. Didn't Freightliner have a program that bypassed the emissions over the past year due to the inability to get sensors and approved by the feds? And yes, the answer to that is sort of. On the EPA 17 models that have the particulate matter or PM sensor or soot sensor, Freightliner did run out of the particulate or soot sensor in manufacturing. The EPA gave Freightliner a temporary pass on this because the new after treatment system should not be passing any soot out of the tailpipe anyway. So they couldn't get the soot sensors, but wanted to ship the trucks. So they left the soot sensor off, put a plug in where the soot sensor is. So if you are working on an EPA 17 and you're like, where the heck is the soot sensor? There's just a plug here. Well, that's is the issue. Now you can go to Freightliner and get the proper sensor installed and get your ACM, your after treatment control module programmed, and you are on your way. FYI, the soot sensors seem to have a fairly high failure rate, or at least their lifespan is not as long as some other sensors. So if you are getting soot sensor codes and the truck has a fair amount of miles on it, it's a quick and easy fix to replace the soot sensor. Now, if you pull that soot sensor out and it's all black, it shouldn't be, and that's telling you that the soot sensor is doing what it should be doing. It's sensing soot, and you have a cracked DPF. So now you need to get in there a little bit further and fix the cracked DPF issue. But even more importantly, do the upstream troubleshooting to see what ended up cracking that DPF in the first place. You probably have an injector issue or a sticky injector, something like that. Let me think. The the NOx sensors and the soot sensor are fairly susceptible to dropping. And I think that's what actually causes a lot of these failures is either in manufacturing or shipping. Those things get banged around. They're actually like a little light bulb inside. They have a filament inside. And if that gets banged too hard, it's either broken right away or somewhat damaged. It'll fail. And so when you get a new NOx sensor, inlet or outlet, or a soot sensor, treat it gently. And if you drop it on the floor, I would recommend replacing it so you don't put it on the truck and have that thing fail in the next few hundred miles or 1,000 miles, whatever it might be. Anyway, so there you go. Yes, Freightliner did get a pass from the EPA. It was temporary. They do have a program out now to get the truck in, get that sensor in there, and get everything updated, just so you know. Or if you find one, if you do have a one box that has that plug in it, and you wonder what the heck that's all about, supply chain issue. It was temporary. It is now fixed. All right. Number 6. Okay. Now, there's another one about the 2015 Cascadia. I have a deleted one. We we undelete trucks. Just like I said before, replacement one box for that 2015 runs about $7,900, and that includes new filters as well. All of our new one boxes do have a 3-year warranty on them with limited mileage, but keep in mind that upstream issues with injectors, turbo, or anything engine related that damages the one box is not covered by the warranty. So make sure that you thoroughly troubleshoot all upstream issues before replacing your one box. We do get asked, we sell refurbished one boxes. We don't, because the refurbished ones are, as bad as, or worse than the one you have. Would not do that. And the new one box comes with filters, but doesn't come with sensors. So you can either move your old sensors from the old box to the new box. And we do recommend replacing the harness as well. And we do undeletes on any truck, but the Freightliners, we have everything lined up. We can generally get you in and out the same day. So give us a call or a text at 404-999-1361. All right. Let's see. So there was a video, and I don't have it on here, so I can't show you, but the conversation started up about dealerships that won't work on deleted trucks. More and more dealerships are enforcing that rule because they're getting fined and caught by the EPA. But the question here from Nate is, won't do engine work or any work, clutch, windshield, etc. So it depends on the truck and the dealership, I would imagine. Again, it varies. One day you could come in and they say, we're not going to work in your truck. The next day you come in and there's a different service writer and he's got a different attitude about it and he does it. So it really luck of the draw there. But I can tell you that when it comes to medium duty, like Ford, they will not do warranty work on a deleted truck at all, even if the warranty work is on transmission or any other non-emissions part of the truck. True story. A friend of mine bought a Ford F-250 diesel, and it was deleted, but still fairly new. It was still under warranty. and lo and behold, the transmission went out. And it was about a $5,000 job that would have been covered under warranty. But because the truck was deleted, Ford said, we will not replace your transmission until you put your emissions back on. And so the guy with the truck had to pay for the transmission out of his own pocket, did not want to undelete his truck. So, delete if you really want to, but be cautious when listening to the just delete it comments on the internet, because you can get yourself into a real pickle. All right. Number 8 from Evie Gonzalez, 41. This is actually a great question. Didn't the EPA just lose in the Supreme Court? All right. And this is another common myth spread on the internet, and it has nothing at all to do with your truck or any diesel engine, on road, off road, wherever it might be. The decision you're talking about with the EPA and the Supreme Court, the state Supreme Court, it involves coal fired power plants only. And it's a very, very specific issue in one state only. It has nothing to do with diesel powered equipment, so it has nothing to do with your truck. So don't think for a second you can go, oh yeah, well the EPA lost in the Supreme Court, I'll just delete my truck. Nope, unless you got a coal fired plant in, I think it was North Carolina or South Carolina, this ruling does not apply to you in the least bit. Again, like I said, just because you read somebody says that the EPA was somehow shut down in court, which they weren't, the case in question is for power plants and not trucks or anything else running on diesel. So no, yes, there was an EPA case, but no, it did not apply to any diesel engine, any diesel equipment on road or off. So caveat emptor. All right. Number 9, EGR cooler leaking. What is the testing procedure to see if the cooler is leaking coolant internally? I've seen lots that get pressure tested, but still, I would imagine it's that still fail. So when we get an EGR cooler in for cleaning, we test them twice. Once we pre-test them using pressure, and then test them again after they are clean, because sometimes they will pass the pre-test, but will fail once we get all the crud out. Now, again, if it fails the pre-test, we obviously don't take the time to clean it. If it does fail the final test, then we know not to put it on the truck. We also use a trick that I learned from Red Repair, who has got a great channel on TikTok. We use a coolant strip, test strip method, where we mix soot from the EGR cooler with some water and then dip the coolant test strip in it. If anything changes on the test strip, that means there's traces of coolant in the soot inside the EGR cooler, which means that it's leaking and is a bad EGR. But honestly, the pre and post pressure testing process has worked 100% of the time so far. So I get how you don't want to put any bad EGR back in the truck. We don't want to do that either. We want to make sure that when we clean it, that it's, first of all, it makes sense to clean it because we know that it's good before we clean it. And if it doesn't pass, we don't clean it. If it does pass, we clean it, but then test it again, because sometimes the crap that's in the EGR cooler will kind of mask a leak, strangely enough. All right, last question. Number 10 from Wesley M08. What kind of cleaners can you put in your fuel to prevent that? Again, they're talking about the buildup of crap in your EGR cooler. 3 years, three letters, 3 words: Clean Air Fleet. Clean Air Fleet. And I have to apologize to anybody seeing this who has sent a text or called asking about buying the product, because we ran out of packaging and couldn't ship. And so we were far behind on responding and everything else. And that's on me. I apologize for that. But we have new packaging now and are back in business. So make sure you text additive, ADDITIVE, to 404-999-1361. And I promise to get you taken care of. So, and I'll talk more about this just for a second here. And I don't want to sound like I'm over shilly about this, but the Clean Air Fleet additive works really well. And the people that make it and support it, Clint and Kurt, are very knowledgeable and very helpful. And yes, there's a number of good additives out there. But I really think that this, along with the support you get, makes it really, really a winner. Keep in mind that it's 1 gallon of the additive treats 320 gallons of fuel, and you're going to spend about $36.50 per gallon. They come in 4-gallon packs, and that should be enough to treat a decent amount of fuel. And like anything, like if you were going to say, hey, what's the best way to lose weight? Well, here's what you do. But no matter what it is, it doesn't work overnight. You want to give it a little bit of time. And especially if you haven't been using additive before, there's going to be a lot of buildup on your injectors and everywhere else. So you'll notice, if you start using Clean Air Fleet, you'll notice an improvement, but it can take a few weeks to really get the thing dialed in. So yeah, so Clean Air Fleet is what I recommend. And 404-999-1361. Text us the word additive, and we will actually get you taken care of this time. And I've been making too many people wait way too long for that. For that, I apologize. All right. We're going to wrap up here in just a minute. And after the live on everywhere on YouTube is done, we're going to be doing a TikTok live. And that will be behind the scenes, will be much more informal, rapid fire, answer your questions, et cetera, et cetera. So, if you're on YouTube right now watching this and you're watching it live, or on Facebook or wherever else you see this, jump over to TikTok and look for DPF Guys. We'll be going live in just a few seconds. So there you have it. Your questions, my answers. And thank you to everybody for watching, either live or in the future. Please leave your questions and comments below, or text your questions directly to us at 404-999-1361. And I'll be back here next week to answer more of your questions. And remember to subscribe to the DPF Guys channel on YouTube. That's easy to do. Click the down below or wherever it is, and then find us on TikTok. And make sure that you watch our short videos there, or find us on LinkedIn or wherever it might be. So thank you for watching, and see you next week.